Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're diving into a topic that's, well, absolutely critical for understanding India's economy and its future. We're talking about the environment and sustainable development. This is a big one, especially for your prep, so let's jump right in.
So this really brings us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? The one that policymakers, economists, and frankly all of us are grappling with. Can we have development and a healthy environment at the same time? Is it possible for them to go hand in hand? That's the core puzzle we're going to unpack today.
But before we can even try to answer that, we have to get one thing straight. The economy isn't some separate bubble floating in space. No way. It's completely, 100% tied to our environment. Think about it. From the food we grow to the factories we build, every single thing we do economically depends on nature. They're two sides of the same coin.
Okay, so what do we even mean when we say the environment? Well, the textbook definition is pretty neat. It's everything, literally, our planet's total inheritance, all the resources we have. This includes all the biotic, the living things like plants, animals, forests, and all the abiotic, or non-living, stuff like air, water, and soil. It's the whole package.
And this environment of ours? It's not just sitting there. It's constantly working for us, performing four vital functions. First, it gives us resources. Wood, water, minerals, you name it. Second, it acts like a giant cleanup crew, assimilating all the waste we produce. Third, it sustains life itself, creating the conditions for us to even exist. And finally, it provides those priceless aesthetic services, the beauty of a mountain range or a sunset. These aren't just bonuses, they are the absolute foundation of our survival and our economy.
Now, to put this into perspective for India, check out this number, 17%. That's the share of the world's population that lives in India. Now get this, all those people are living on just 2.5% of the world's land area. Just let that sink in for a moment. That is an immense amount of pressure on our resources. We're talking about a massive demand on a very, very limited supply.
So when you have that kind of pressure, what happens? Well, you start to see some serious cracks. And that's exactly what's happening. This pressure has led to some major environmental challenges for India. So let's shift gears from what the environment should be doing to the tough reality of what's happening on the ground. This part is super important, so pay close attention. Let's start with the ground beneath our feet, land. It's getting hit from all sides. We've got deforestation, people cutting down forests for wood. We have unsustainable extraction of fuel and fodder. There's shifting cultivation, encroachment into forest lands, not to mention forest fires, overgrazing by animals, and then there's the way we farm, improper crop rotation, and just, pumping the soil full of chemicals. It's not one single thing, it's a perfect storm of problems, all wearing down our most precious resource.
Okay, from land, let's look up at the air, specifically air pollution. And the numbers here are just wow. Back in 1951, India had about 3 lakh motor vehicles. Fast forward to 2003, and that number exploded to 67 crores. That's not just an increase, that's an absolute explosion. And you can imagine what that kind of growth, especially in our cities, has done to the air we breathe.
And all of this, the pollution, the resource use, it feeds into the big one, global warming. We've all heard the term, right? It's that gradual heating up of our planet's atmosphere. Why? Because of all the greenhouse gases we've been pumping into the air since the Industrial Revolution. And let's be clear, this isn't some far-off problem for the future. It's here, now. It's the reason for the crazy heat waves, the unpredictable monsoons. It's happening right in front of our eyes.
So let's break it down. What's causing this? Well, it's us. It's the burning of fossil fuels like coal and petroleum. It's cutting down our forests. It's even methane gas from animal waste. And the effects? They're scary. We're talking about polar ice melting, which means rising sea levels. We're talking about our drinking water supplies being disrupted, entire species going extinct, and as we're seeing more and more, tropical storms becoming way more frequent and much stronger. The link between our actions and these consequences is absolutely clear.
Okay, so we've painted a pretty grim picture, I know, but it's not all doom and gloom. There is a solution, a path forward that the whole world is trying to follow, and that path is called sustainable development. Now, this isn't just some fancy term people throw around. It's a real, powerful idea, a kind of blueprint for how we can move forward.
And here's the classic definition. You absolutely have to know this one. It says sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. Simple, right? It just means we can live our lives and use what we need, but we can't be so greedy that we leave nothing for our kids and grandkids. We can't use up everything and leave them with an empty planet. It's about being fair to the future.
So that's the big idea.
But how does a country like India actually do it? How do we turn this concept into action? Well, let's take a look at the actual strategies India is using to try and achieve sustainable development. This is where the theory meets the real world.
India's approach is actually really smart because it's tackling the problem from multiple angles. On one hand, you have the high-tech stuff, a big push for non-conventional energy like wind and solar power. Then, there are targeted policies like getting LPG cylinders into rural homes and promoting CNG for vehicles in cities. But what's really cool is that we're also looking back to our roots, reviving traditional knowledge. Things like biocomposting, using biopest control instead of harsh chemicals. It's a fantastic blend of old wisdom and new technology.
And here's a perfect example of that blend in action, the Gobar gas plant. This is just brilliant. You take something that's basically waste, cattle dung, and you turn it into clean fuel for cooking. That right there helps reduce deforestation because people don't need to cut down trees for firewood. But wait, there's more. The byproduct, the slurry that's left over, is an amazing organic fertilizer for the farms. So you get clean energy and chemical-free fertilizer. It's a total win-win.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. The basic concepts, the huge challenges, and some of the solutions India is trying. So now it's your turn. Let's see how well you've been listening with a couple of practice questions. Think of this as a mini test. You ready?
First up, a prelim-style question. Which of the following is considered a biotic element of the environment? Your options are A. Air, B. Water, C. Forests, and D. Sunlight. Okay, think back to what we said. Biotic means living. Abiotic means non-living. So air, non-living. Water, non-living. Sunlight, non-living. But forests? That's a whole ecosystem of living trees and organisms. So the correct answer is, of course, C.
All right, let's level up to a main-style question. Discuss the major environmental challenges confronting India. How do these challenges impact the country's economic development? See, this isn't just about listing problems. You need to connect the dots. You talk about things like land degradation, air and water pollution, and then, here's the key, you link them to the economy. For example, how does poor soil quality hurt our agricultural GDP? How does air pollution lead to higher healthcare costs? How do polluted rivers damage the tourism industry? That's the kind of deep analysis they're looking for.
And for our final question, another one from Mains that requires you to think critically. What is sustainable development? Critically evaluate the strategies India has adopted to achieve it. So, first, you define the term. Then you list the strategies we discussed, solar, CNG, Gobar gas, all of it. But the most important part is the critically evaluate bit. Are these strategies working as well as they should be? Where are the gaps? Is the pace of change fast enough to meet the scale of the problem? And that really is the ultimate question, isn't it? We have the solutions, but are we acting on them with the urgency this crisis demands? Something for all of us to think